Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty significant, career paths.
A big one, for sure.
Yeah, thinking about how people, find their way professionally, especially for younger people starting out. It's fascinating. You sent us some really interesting articles and notes on this.
Yeah, I did.
Have you ever just looked around and wondered what exactly shapes those choices people make about their careers?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time. And looking through the material you shared, it's clear you're thinking about it too. All those different factors.
Right.
From, those early influences at home right up to the very different job market people are facing now.
Yeah.
Maybe let's start right there at the beginning. That foundation, the impact parents have.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Reading through some of your notes on family dynamics, it really struck me how much parents can steer their kids, sometimes without even realizing it.
That's a really key point. It came up in a couple of those articles you flagged. It's not always about, direct pressure. Sometimes it's just the subtle stuff. The cues, the way parents talk about their own work, or maybe the professions they really admire.
Oh.
One study you included mentioned how kids, they often internalize their parents' values around work and success, and this happens really young.
Right, like that piece you flagged about the emphasis on stability in certain jobs.
Exactly.
I can totally see how a parent who really values that might, maybe unintentionally, nudge their child towards fields like, I don't know, medicine or finance.
Yeah, the safe bets.
Even if the kid's actual interests are somewhere completely different. I remember a friend, and this made me think of one of your articles on, aspirational influence.
Okay.
Her parents always talked about the importance of a respectable career. That's the word they used.
Respectable.
So she ended up in a field that, ticked all their boxes, looked good on paper, but she wasn't really fulfilled. It took her years, honestly, years, to figure out her real passion was in something totally different, creative field.
That fits perfectly, actually, with that idea of transferred aspirations we saw in one of the research papers you sent over.
Yeah.
Parents who maybe have their own unfulfilled dreams or ambitions, they might push their kids towards those paths, often with the best intentions, wanting the best for them.
Of course.
But it's still a subtle and pretty powerful form of influence.
And then there's just the everyday stuff, the modeling, isn't there?
Oh, definitely.
That article about work ethic you shared, that really hit home. Kids are just sponges.
They really are.
They see how their parents handle work. Is it with enthusiasm or is it just a grind they have to get through?
Yeah.
And that shapes their own attitudes.
Absolutely. Plus, think about the opportunities parents provide, or maybe don't provide.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, the kinds of books around the house, the conversations they encourage, the activities they sign kids up for.
Ah, okay. Exposure.
Exactly. All that contributes to the range of possibilities a child even considers as a potential career down the line.
So it's not just direct advice, it's the whole environment.
Precisely. And what's really insightful from the material you gathered is this call for, parental self-awareness. Really understanding your own biases, the messages you might be sending without meaning to. That's so crucial.
Because it could backfire.
Well, yeah. As one of your sources pointed out, this unintentional influence, even though it often comes from a place of care,
Right.
it can accidentally narrow a child's horizons. It can stop them from exploring what they're genuinely talented at or interested in.
Okay, so we know parents have this big influence, intentional or not. What are some, proactive ways they can help their kids figure out what they're actually good at?
Yeah.
What excites them, rather than just, shaping them towards something specific?
Yeah, good question. And the resources you pulled together offer some excellent starting points there. A really common theme is just observation.
Just watching them.
Yeah, basically. Pay attention to what your kids naturally drift towards. What activities really hold their attention? What seems to come relatively easily to them?
Okay.
It's not just about what they're good at now, but spotting where their sort of innate curiosity and enthusiasm seems to lie.
Makes sense.
And, as several of your notes suggest, asking thoughtful questions, open-ended, reflective questions about these interests can be incredibly valuable.
So instead of just, did you like soccer practice?
Right.
Maybe ask something like, what was the most interesting part of practice today? Or, I don't know, when you're building with those blocks, what do you enjoy most about it? That kind of thing.
Exactly like that. You're probing deeper. And fostering that underlying curiosity is just key.
How do you do that? Foster curiosity.
Well, one of the articles you shared really emphasized providing a rich environment.
Okay.
Giving them access to diverse things, books, documentaries, maybe online courses, supporting them, exploring different hobbies, even if they seem to jump from one thing to another.
Yeah. That can be frustrating sometimes.
I bet. But it lets them experiment and discover new interests. Fundamentally, it's about creating a home where learning and asking questions are encouraged. It's safe to be curious.
Now, this next bit, I think this is where a lot of parents might find it tricky, maybe myself included, letting go of those preconceived ideas.
The biases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe you always pictured your kid becoming a doctor, or you just believe certain fields are inherently more successful than others. How can parents, as that one article discussed, actually recognize those biases and focus on what's unique about their child?
That's a really important point, and your notes definitely touched on it. It takes a genuine act of self-reflection. It's not easy.
I can imagine.
Parents need to honestly look at their own values, their own aspirations, and then compare those to what they're actually seeing in their child.
So asking yourself, am I really seeing their strengths and interests?
Exactly. Or am I filtering what I see through my own hopes and desires for them? One suggestion from your sources that I thought was really practical was to literally make a list.
A list.
Yeah. List out your child's observed strengths, things they seem good at or passionate about, and then brainstorm potential careers that align with those specific things.
Instead of starting with the career first.
Right. Instead of starting with successful career X and then trying to somehow fit your child into that box.
It sounds like a real mindset shift, moving from what do I want for my child to what's actually right for this specific child.
That's a great way to put it. Now, thinking about the world these kids are stepping into.
Oh boy, yeah.
It is so different, isn't it, even from when we were starting out?
Completely.
How do we even begin to prepare them for today's career landscape, especially considering some of those trends in the future of work reports you sent?
Yeah, those were eye-opening.
The change has just been remarkable. Those reports really laid out. We've gone from a job market that was, relatively stable, clear paths.
Predictable, almost.
To one that's much more dynamic. And honestly, less predictable in many ways. Just think about the new roles that basically didn't exist a generation ago.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, data scientists, UX designers, social media managers, even things like professional esports players or content creators on YouTube.
Right. My cousin's daughter manages online communities for different brands. I mean, that job title wouldn't have made sense when I was in college.
Exactly. Technology, societal shifts. They're constantly creating new fields and just totally redefining the old ones.
It feels almost dizzying sometimes.
Yeah.
And as several of your articles pointed out, that huge growth in remote work
Massive.
has opened up jobs with companies anywhere, really, in roles that are probably still evolving as we speak.
And all of this just underlines how critical flexibility is now and a real commitment to lifelong learning.
That came up again and again in the sources, didn't it?
Almost all of them emphasized it. The specific skills that are super in demand today, they might change and change rapidly.
So it's not about getting the one degree anymore.
Less and less. It's more about instilling a mindset of continuous learning, being comfortable with adapting, picking up new skills throughout your career, being ready to evolve with the job market.
Okay, but how can parents actually encourage that adaptability and help kids deal with, the inevitable setbacks?
Yeah, setbacks.
Because not every new interest or project is going to work out perfectly. How do we help them see those moments of learning opportunities like some of your sources suggested, not just failures?
Reframing failure is just vital, absolutely vital. And your notes really echo this. It's about changing the story. Shifting the narrative away from seeing mistakes or things not working out as negative endpoints and towards seeing them as valuable data points, learning experiences.
How do you do that in practice?
Encourage them to step outside their comfort zones, to try new things, even if there's a chance it won't succeed right away.
Okay. Embrace the risk a bit.
A little bit, yeah. And when things don't go to plan, because they often won't, the focus should be on the lessons. Okay, what did you try? What part worked okay? What really didn't? What could you maybe do differently next time?
So it's about the process, not just the outcome.
Precisely. Cultivating that growth mindset, as that one article detailed it so well, it's just crucial for navigating a professional world that's always changing.
That makes a ton of sense. It's about building resilience, really, as much as anything else. Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. Based on the advice in these resources, what are some really concrete, practical steps parents can take? Starting now.
Okay, practical steps. First off, create dedicated time and space for open conversations. Talk about their interests, their ideas, potential paths. And it doesn't need to be like a formal meeting or feel like an interrogation.
Right, not like a job interview.
Exactly. It could be regular check-ins, maybe during dinner, on a walk, whatever works. As some of your notes suggested, the real key is to listen. Actively listen.
Without jumping in with solutions.
Without judgment, yeah. Show genuine curiosity about their thoughts, their aspirations.
Okay, so open communication is number one. What about broadening their horizons? Getting them to see beyond the usual stuff, beyond the careers they see on TV or the limited options at a school career day.
Yeah, exposure is huge. And your sources had some great ideas here. Encourage informational interviews.
What are those exactly?
It's basically just reaching out to people who work in fields that the child finds interesting, asking if they can chat for 15, 20 minutes about their job, their experience, how they got there.
Oh, I like that. Real-world insight.
Exactly. It's much more tangible than just reading a description. There are also tons of online resources now, websites, videos, virtual career fairs even, that showcase a massive variety of jobs. Volunteering is another great one, gives hands-on experience, exposure to different work environments. And honestly, even simple things. Watching documentaries together, listening to podcasts that feature different professions, it can spark curiosity and just broaden their understanding of what's actually out there.
Yeah, just making it part of the conversation. Okay, what about keeping motivation up? As they explore, maybe hit some dead ends.
Yeah.
How can parents nurture that drive and build confidence?
That's really important. Celebrate the small wins. And maybe even more importantly, celebrate the effort. Acknowledge the initiative they took to explore a new hobby or the diligence they showed researching a potential career path, even if it doesn't lead to an immediate aha moment.
So praise the process again.
Yes. Building confidence is slow, it's gradual, and absolutely encourage those passion projects and hobbies.
Even if they seem totally unrelated to a real job.
Especially then, sometimes. As several of your sources pointed out, those activities, they might seem like just fun, but they often develop really crucial transferable skills.
Like what?
Problem solving, creativity, perseverance, time management, you name it. Plus, they foster a sense of purpose, a sense of accomplishment, which is huge for motivation.
These are really valuable, actionable insights, especially thinking back to the points raised in the material I shared. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive for today, what would you say are the most important takeaways for listeners to keep in mind?
Well, I think we've seen just how profoundly parents can influence career thinking, often in really subtle ways, right?
Definitely. The unintentional stuff.
Yeah. And we've highlighted how important it is to actively help kids discover their own unique strengths and passions, nurturing curiosity, being mindful of our own biases. We talked about the need to prepare them for this dynamic, evolving job market, fostering that flexibility, that growth mindset.
Right, lifelong learning.
Exactly. And then we touched on those practical strategies, creating open communication, broadening exposure, celebrating effort, supporting passions, all themes that really resonated across the resources you provided.
And maybe if there's one sort of final thought that really comes through from all this, and particularly from that one piece about long-term guidance, it's this idea of providing a compass, maybe, rather than a map.
Ooh, like that analogy, a compass, not a map.
Yeah, because the landscape is going to keep changing.
Yeah.
Their path probably won't be a straight line. It'll be unique. So our role maybe is more about helping them develop their own sense of direction, the skills to navigate uncertainty, and just the confidence to explore and adapt along the way.
That's a fantastic summary, and it actually brings up a really interesting point for you, thinking about your own experiences now and the insights from the material you dug into.
Yeah.
What's maybe one key idea from our whole discussion today that really stuck with you in the context of your own reflections? And how might you think about applying it, either for yourself or just in how you view the younger generation navigating all this?
That is a great question to sit with. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me today. It's definitely given me a lot to think about.